Thank you for joining us this morning. And I know that it's that time of year, everybody's sort of rushing into the end or the last phase of the year. I think if I'm looking at the calendar now, 19th of November, in pretty much a month's time, most people are breaking for the December holidays. So thank you. I appreciate you taking time out. I know there's still lots to do before the end of the year. And as we start heading into that time, I appreciate the fact that you've taken out from your diary to come and join us. Those of you who don't know me, by way of introduction, my name is Mark. I'm Managing Director and co-founder of Kwelanga Training. And with me this morning, I've got Lisa. Lisa's head of our accreditation, our assessments, our IP. She's our National Quality Assurance Manager, and she brings with her some deep insight around that space. And I'm looking forward to her sharing some of those insights with us when it comes to QCTO. Also on our team, you'll see Johanna. Johanna works as part of Lisa's team, and Johanna is really responsible for all things CETA related when it comes to liaison, when it comes to learner registrations, learner exits, and working with LMISs. So thank you, Johanna, for also being part of the team this morning. And then, of course, the rest. You would have heard the music at the start. That's Daniel. Daniel is also one of our senior members. He's our resident DJ. So if you like the music, give a thumbs up in the chat. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the soundtrack. And with that, we're almost ready to get going. I just want to state right up front, this is our disclaimer, by the way. We don't claim to know absolutely everything about QCTO. We're giving you what we're seeing in the industry at the moment, and it's rapidly moving. You'll even see in the presentation from week to week, things are starting to unfold. So we're giving you our perspective as we see it right now, but we also know that some of you have started going down this pathway and might have some experiences that you want to share with us. So when we get to those parts of the presentation, please don't be afraid to just pop it into the chat. Your experience or anything that you've uncovered, or maybe an insight that you can share with us to help us obviously develop our own skill set and our understanding of the process. It is a fireside chat, so that means it's very conversational. We're going to have a few polls. We're going to engage as much as we can. And if you've got questions, pop them into the webinar chat. You'll see that for most part, video and mics have been disabled, and that's just because it's the size of the group for the webinar, and we can't obviously have interruptions during the process. So for today, I'm going to go back to the presentation and just pull up the agenda. Quickly share my screen, and there we go. Everyone can see that agenda. I'm going to go into, and also bear with me. I am slightly technology challenged, but only slightly. So let's go here, see if we can get a full view, full screen mode. Okay, there we go. So let's go on to the agenda for today. Understanding the QCTO shift. Okay, so there's three main themes that we've got that we want to cover. The first one, obviously, understanding the shift and what we can do as providers, as employers to prepare for that change. The second is training and the B scorecard impact. Most of you are aware and are familiar with the B scorecard, particularly the skills element. And so we're going to have a look at that. And then, of course, legacy learnerships and unit standards. Where are they? What's happening with them? And what can we do between now and the 30th of June? But before we get started, and before I start interrogating you, Lisa, I've got a poll. Steph, are you able to pull that poll up? And there's the poll up on the screen. What concerns you most about the switch to QCTO? I'll repeat that quickly. What concerns you most about the QCTO, about the switch to QCTO? There's a couple of options there. Uncertainty, lack of information, demand on employers and learners, lack of skills programs, and the deadline. It says they're only 8 months away, but it's actually less than 8 months now. So please, if you put in your selection and share it with us so we can get an idea of where everybody's sitting at the moment. I'm going to let that run. So far, we've got 20 responses, up to 23. Leading it there is uncertainty, absolutely. And of course, the lack of skills programs. I'm glad that's been highlighted because that's certainly something that we've picked up and we want to elaborate on. Lack of information also, I suppose that leads to some of the uncertainty. It's this and then it's that, then it changes and then we hurry up and wait. So a lot of that happening at the moment as well. Steph, I think I'm going to call it there with the first poll and leading there by 34%. So that's almost a third of the vote is the uncertainty, what's happening or how we can deal with it as employers and certainly even for us as skills development providers. And then the lack of skills programs, nearly a quarter of you saying that that's a big issue. And yes, we are going to speak to that a little bit during this particular presentation. So with that, I'm going to look to you, Lisa. You know, Lisa's obviously responsible for our accreditation with Services CETA, and as you know, most of our qualifications and skills programs all sit with the Services CETA. So for today's conversation, we're going to view it through the lens of Services CETA, understanding that you each belong to your own industry CETAs and it might be slightly different. But for the most part, I think it's generally the same sort of a process. So in terms of that, Lisa, you know, we've seen now that 30 June is the deadline. It's just over 7 months away. What is the current status with this transition to QCTO?
I think it's been ramped up a bit in the last few months, Mark. The whole emphasis is on us moving by the 1st of July 2026 and only offering QCTO. From all the roadshows that Johanna and I have attended, we've been very active in that arena and following lobby groups. There is not going to be an extension. That's what we're hearing loud and clear. Whether that becomes a reality or not, last time we also thought it was not going to be extended, and last minute, well, actually after the deadline, they gave us grace. But we're hearing it from the DHET, from SACWA roadshows, from Services CETA roadshows. Nope, they've had long enough, move it. So what we've seen from a Services CETA perspective is that there's this great effort now to get programs out. So they have started these, they have what they call scoping committees that go and have a look at what needs to change and the merging of qualifications. But unfortunately, as the lobby group has termed it for Services CETA, and the lobby group is made up of SDPs, Skills Development Provider Representatives, that are really looking for replacement programs, they've said stalled development activities because it's been stop and go. And we've gone to those Services CETA initiatives and where they show us their development plan. But some occupational qualifications, remember, occupational qualifications, occupational skills programs are being the replacement terminology. They were motivated for in 2023. They're only getting developed now. Okay, so the development has been slow. They've acknowledged that. What I'm seeing, though, from all the mailing lists that I'm on, is that there are more of these committees taking place more frequently. So we'll come to that just now and show what development is in the pipeline. But it is a little bit late because they're still going to be limited for the 1st of July, qualifications and skills programs for Services CETA. So yes, we do, like you say, watch and wait.
Awesome.
Monitor, watch and wait, yes.
Thank you, Lisa. And then from a challenge perspective in terms of what employers are facing and what providers are facing when it comes to this shift, what specifically are you seeing as challenges? And I'm going to pull up your slide now so you can maybe talk us through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will, because we identified 9 key challenges and we've bundled them, if I can call it bundling challenges.
Okay, is my slide up? Is the slide up?
Yes, the slide's up.
Perfect. Okay, great.
So for our audience today, I think it's important that we just slow it down a little bit here and we chat about those challenges. There might be others, and Mark did mention that you're going to have a poll just now, or we're going to have some interaction about what challenges you've been faced with. But I've put the number one challenge there, or the cluster, is development of QCTO programs, because as we've seen from the first poll, lack of skills programs, okay? There's limited replacement programs, and this is because of that stalled development process. And the vocational focus, if you are monitoring the qualifications and skills programs, you will note that they've all got a vocational title. Okay, so it will be an operator, a supervisor, not supervisory skills anymore. They're wanting to make the emphasis is on your vocation, your workplace competence, and you are skilled in that vocation. So what they're looking at there is industry alignment. So when I mentioned earlier about these committees that are gathering, the scoping committees with these expert practitioners, they allow two representatives from industry to be on those committees. So it's about 8 or 9 people that they gather, 2 from industry, 1 SDP representative, and that's private, SDP, skills development providers. So the industry alignment, if you are noticing that there are not qualifications or skills programs within the realm that you function in operationally, you should be reaching out to your CETA and saying, but what I've noticed about this qualification that's out for public comment, it doesn't cater for this. But unfortunately, sometimes getting involved at public comment stage could also be late. You need to be involved from the beginning. So like we watching all sorts of portals, if you've got a desperate need in your organization to be industry aligned for your qualifications, please go and draw close to your CETA. And then if you've got the appetite, there are some L&D specialists that do have the appetite for it, go and join and be nominated. But there's a process to follow for that nomination to get onto one of those committees. And I can give more of that separately, but we're not going to go into detail here. And then the direct workplace impact. There is going to be a workplace approval process. Remember, we spoke about competency at workplace level. So it's about task orientation, the QCTO, vocations. So your workplace approval process is the SDP can't tell the QCTO, hey, we're training down the road at that client, and this is what we're doing. No, there's a process that we have to follow. So for skills programs, they are happy, and Johanna confirmed this at the last roadshow she was at, where we can have a declaration signed, which we would do with our clients as they're going through our booking process, that they are going to be doing the workplace component on their site. Some of the skills programs do not have a workplace component, like conflict management. It doesn't. It has a practical application and a knowledge component. So for qualifications and part qualifications, though, there is actually a workplace approval process. This means we have to adhere to the QCTO timelines, which is going to slow us down. We, as Kwelanga, get numerous requests from clients for skills programs, short course assessments. Oh, can you help us in Kimberley in 10 days' time? Oh, can you help us in Bloemfontein in 2 weeks' time or next week? We've had this approved, our procurement process, but now they've said go. And so we try and accommodate all those requests. We pack boxes, we print material. QCTO is saying, sorry, X factor, you know what I mean? The red buzz is going to sound. We as an SDP have to apply to them and say, this is the client, this is the training that they want, and this is where the training will be held. And then they will tell us whether we can go ahead. So can you imagine now the booking process? So we're going to upskill our business relationship managers, and the same would go to an employer. We can no longer accommodate late requests for accredited training because QCTO is going to say no. They are trying to get rid of the fly-by-nights and all these other things that we see that are inferior products. So we have to work with the system, not against the system. However, at one roadshow, I asked one of these questions around workplace approval, and they said, you know what, your company would make a very good case study. And maybe you should work with us, and you can contact me. Here's my business card, a senior executive from the services CETA. Well, I tried to contact and I haven't been offered a meeting. So we live in hope that we can help be a change agent for the workplace approvals, but we can't, just do away with legislation and what has been, it is the rules of engagement now. We can't just look at that and say we're not interested. And then the workplace mentor expectations. This is not about, if you are used to doing learnerships, you will know that there's a logbook. You will know that there's supervisory witness statements and testimonies and signing off. And it's really laborious work, but often it's a tick box exercise done by the supervisors in the workplace. QCTO is saying no more the case. This is not a tick box exercise. We need to know that that person has got competency in the applied competence at workplace level. So please have a mentoring process in place. So we do have a mentoring guide. We have a mentoring induction program, and we would guide that. But again, if we don't hold hands with our clients and say, this is the part that you have to play, this is the part that we're going to play, you have to elect workplace mentors, whether you do one mentor for 6 people or 5 people or 10 people, but obviously the bigger that ratio is for learner or employee to mentor, the harder it is on the mentor. And we do know that accredited training puts a tremendous strain on individuals. Life and work is happening at an incredible pace. Since COVID, the world is turning upside down. And when clients want to come and do accredited training for a tick box exercise, I feel so for the learners, because sometimes they'll come and say, I had a query this week, 5 POEs. They want to do a program with 5. I said, no, integrated. Let's do an integrated to protect the learner, because we want to enable learners and empower them through accredited training, not disable them. Multiple POEs is disabling. Let's enable and work together. So the mentor is about mentoring, helping, giving some, steering people, being a resource for them in the workplace. So there's expectations that we have to become familiar with, and it does work to what Kwelanga is trying to achieve in that 70-20-10, right? Because the 10 is the workplace, the classroom base, and then we're looking at that 70%. How can we get that workplace competence working, and then the social learning? The longer program durations is going to trip some of us up. When we have applied for accreditation now for conflict, the 10-day program, I managed to get it down to a 3.5-day contact session. But let's not get elated about that diminishing duration, because there's an onus on the learners to do some self-study, because the 10 credits still needs 100 notional hours. They haven't done away with that, okay? So in work sense, in operational, imagine having your learners, and that is, to Johanna, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, that was a 10 credit. No, it was 10 days, 8 credits, 80 notional hours for conflict management. But can you imagine a 22 credit program? Because they are there, but just not in what we're looking for. And how many days operationally are you going to have to release people? And some of the self-study, as much as it's self-study, we also need to give our employees a break if we, they've got to go and do it after hours and all of these sorts of things. So we've got to take that into account. Buddy system requirements, when we looked at the small skills program of conflict management, one thing stood out for me in the formatives. Every formative activity, which is the classwork activity, needs to be signed off by a buddy. Now, that buddy is not necessarily in the class able to do it, but they might have to refresh. They've got to give some feedback. So they ask the buddy. So again, it's that 70% and 20% social learning. But time needs to be allocated to that, and the employer needs to understand that they sometimes have to partner up. And then when we get to the summatives and credits, the FISA and the ESA, I think it had some people reeling. There was much debate. We also attend coffee chats and all sorts of chats, Johanna and myself, to hear. Our ears flap, I tell you, and our noses are down on the ground looking for information to make this more streamlined. But ESA, please note that that's an external integrated summative assessment. That takes place at a national venue, an approved venue. Skills development providers are not all that assessment center. You have to apply to become an assessment center, and then you get QCTO approval. And that would be via a verification visit and everything. But that national calendar, they've had to actually postpone and cancel and move dates already for ESA. Okay. Now remember, an ESA will be like your matric, if I can just equate it to your matric national papers, your senior certificate, where skills development providers are expected to prepare the learners for that external. So now what QCTO is saying, we are watching and we are waiting to see how skills development providers are going to do. Are they going to prepare their learners? Because if we have, you know, how do some people choose schools for their children? They go and look at the matric results, don't they? One of the factors that they take into consideration. They're going to be looking at SDPs like that. What is the failure rate? Or what is the, you know, are these people getting their people through the ESA? Now we need past papers to do that. So we're watching and waiting. Also, there's an application fee. So the cost of training will go up because you have to pay for that ESA. It's extra to the course. So, and that's linked to part and full qualifications. The FISA, the final integrated summative assessment, is linked to skills programs. That is done. It's an invigilated exam. For conflict management, 8 credits. Johanna might have to come in here, but I think it's 3 hours. Johanna, do you agree? 3-hour final integrated assessment.
Correct, Lisa, you're correct. It's 3 hours.
3-hour paper for an 8 credit. After they've done all their formatives and everything and their practical activities, they've still got to come and write a FISA. That has got to be invigilated. So that means the skills development provider will be sending an invigilator, exam conditions, no cell phones allowed in one venue. If you choose to do it virtually, what they've said is we're going to have to record, the skills development provider will have to record each of those virtual FISAs and provide evidence. Now imagine now we've got to download 20 people's FISAs, recording, name it, save it, clouds, and all this sort of thing. But can you imagine the admin behind that to ensure that no one has bottom line cheated? Yes. And that we can verify that this was done under control, a controlled environment. So there's quite a lot to learn. So I would be proposing face-to-face, classroom-based FISAs initially, to make sure that everything runs smoothly, but we can tackle the others. And remember, we're not doing e-learning here. Kwelanga is about face-to-face, whether that is virtual or contact sessions, you know, in person. And then recognition of QCTO skills programs. I just wanted to still point out to everyone that, remember, they carry credits, the skills programs, and this is the new terminology for short courses. So we're not going to be talking about assess short courses. We're going to be talking about skills programs. Those carry credits, but those credits are not on the NQF. Okay, so what I was saying about the credits, please note that they're not recognized on the NQF. Okay, so they are credits and they are registered with QCTO and they are on the National Learner Record Database, but unlike unit standards where they were building blocks towards a qualification, some of these skills programs will lead to you being able to go into that field. So you might want to do a qualification in that regard, like conflict management skills program. Something in labor relations or human resources would be a natural vertical or even horizontal articulation. But it's not a building block. It's not to say now I carry 8 credits with me towards that qualification. So the building block is not there. So Mark, that's from my side on those challenges that people need to be aware of. I hope I've covered everything.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. And I think just to clarify, that last one is quite important for me, the recognition of QCTO skills programs. Because essentially, if I look at the terminology, you've got qualifications, and you've got part qualifications. So you've got credits for those and they head towards some kind of an outcome in that front. But then for the skills programs, unlike the legacy unit standards where we could take our credits and apply them in a particular qualification, now you're saying that that's not how it's recognized. So
yeah, I'd like to just clarify that that'll not necessarily, for part qualifications, it is a part qualification of that qualification. So that'll be a chunk of learning, a part qualification from a particular qualification. But the skills programs are not necessarily going to be a unit of learning within one of those qualifications, because they're around competency in the workplace. But yet you could find part of that learning in a qualification or a part qualification. But then they are, all the recognition of prior learning, all of that will come into play. And how do we recognize that people bring this other knowledge with them? So again, it's about reading and monitoring and staying in touch with the latest developments around that.
Thanks, Lisa. And before I move on to the next slide, I actually want to just push it out to the audience, and you can populate in the chat. I'd be interested to know whether anybody has embarked on that process of doing a QCTO skills program, and which particular skill you might have embarked on. So if you've gone through that process of enrolling employees or unemployed learners on a QCTO skills program, please let us know. Pop it in the chat. Love to hear your experience. What's been the learner experience? What's been your experience as an employer? Or you're not yet gone down that path? Just be interested for me to know. The other thing, Lisa, is 7.5 months. It sounds like it's a long way off, but I remember when the deadline hit us the first time, it came extremely quickly. So, and it sounds like there's a lot of time-consuming processes that need to be established before QCTO functions fully, in terms of the actual courses, the workplace readiness, and all the rest, including the assessment centers. But what is currently available from a QCTO perspective? And I'm looking now specifically at short courses or skills programs, as they're called. What is currently available, and what is going to be available after the 30th of June?
Okay, so Mark, I had another slide there, and remember, we are talking from a Kwelanga point of view, our scope, okay, because there's other out there, but still there's insufficient. A lot of our clients look for the soft skills and generic skills, and now because it's so vocational, it's a little bit, a little bit constrained at the moment. So for us, and because of that, me saying that services CETA was slow to develop, now they're ramping up, but it's a bit late. So for Kwelanga Training, we've got conflict management. That's the one we're seeking accreditation for. We're busy with that process now, and our accreditation could be imminent. Johanna is very confident in the process that we're undergoing. She's been a great help there. And we were waiting for quite some time for more to come, but nothing was coming. So we had to, select one. Effective problem solving and decision making literally was registered last week on the QCTO. Team motivator, can you see? It's not build and motivate a team, it's team motivator. Hopefully you've got more than one team motivator in your teams, and it's not just a person, but that was registered last week. And managing workplace discipline was registered this week. So what we did is we were in touch with our content development house, who we purchase a lot of our learning material from. We've got a few for non-assessed and assessed, and then we obviously do a lot of work on the material ourselves. But they said because effective problem solving and team motivator was only registered last week, they still have to they've only got now, line of sight of the curriculum documents. They've only put it on their list for Q1 development. And then how long is their development process? And we can only apply for QCTO accreditation once we've got the material, we've worked through it, and we've done our own matrices and all sorts of requirements for QCTO. So this could be effectively only available in a year's time.
Thanks, Lisa. So again, the time constraints, that's what we've got to be aware of, I think, particularly employers, in terms of what's available. And again, we were looking at this through the lens of services CETA. I'm very aware of time. We've got probably about 25 minutes or so left. Maybe, Lisa, you can just quickly touch on the qualifications, the qualifications that are available through services CETA, registered with QCTO. And then we can also look at what can we start doing now? What can employers start doing now to get ready for this process?
Yes, so as you said earlier, Mark, the clients will have their own CETA, so there might be like wholesale and retail qualifications and MER-CETA qualifications. All of these will be out there, but we obviously as Kwelanga is looking at those generic, the business admin and the management. And that is what, and we've had contact center, so I added that to the list. But if you look at the first one there, General First Line Manager, that's going to be a combination of GM4, the two LPs that we have got accreditation for, and the General Management Level 3. They're going to combine that into one. So they're going to look at how they develop that, merge those. That scoping is only taking place in November. So they're only starting to look at what that qualification is going to look like. The admin assistant, again, happening in November. That's BA2 and BA3. Some of the others that are, so BA4 will be later. Contact center and workplace planner are busy also in November. The December one is the GM5 scoping. Okay, nowhere near public comment yet. Okay. So it's going to be a long process. And they said 25 to 27 plan, I think it was the development plan.
Thank you, Lisa. And I think it's important for people to obviously engage with their own sectors and their own industries to see what's available, because I think a lot of people are under the illusion that once we switch on 30th of June, there's going to be all these courses, but no, that's not the case. And the reason we share this now is so that you can start engaging with your CETA about what's missing, what can you be involved with. Yes, Lisa.
And Mark, I'd like to add there that just remember that when they set it up for public comment and all that at QCTO level, before it even gets to that, I've seen correspondence where the services CETA has been remediated on curriculum documents because it's QCTO is questioning certain outcomes or certain, alignments. So there's a bit of back and forth, ping pong going on, and then it only gets to public and then, so there's a whole list, a process on that side that's got to be followed. And SDPs are the last to get it. Okay, but we're very watchful.
Thank you, Lisa. I think the other important thing to remember is that we do still have legacy unit standards and qualifications available up until that time. And they might be a good point to reference and leverage until such time as this transition is a little bit smoother. So in terms of employers and what they can do right now, Lisa, I see you've summarized a few points here. Maybe just talk us through that.
Yeah, so if you, like I said, if you've got a desperate need for something, you're not seeing it come, go and engage with your CETA, but stay informed through continuous monitoring. There are, forums, there are newsletters, mailing lists that you can join. Have a look at your skills gaps and PDPs, map them to QCTO programs. Obviously, that'll be more in line with next year's workplace skills plan, the April deadline. But like Mark said, you can still capitalize on the legacy till the 30th of June enrollment. We'll probably close around about mid to late May to make sure that we've got sufficient time to enroll learners. And we'll get to that just now, you could have a double whammy there with 2 financial periods. Prepare the workplace for authentic practical training and mentoring. Remember, conflict doesn't have the workplace component, however, the others will. And if QCTO wants to verify anything, they've got to see, but you are workplaces, so you should have all the equipment and all that. That shouldn't be a problem. Your policies might have to talk about occupational learning now and the workplace learning. And then what are you doing about the mentor? So it depends on how much accredited training you foresee doing. You'd have to align the terminology with what QCTO would like. And then also, obviously, and it's not mentioned here, they're very strong on OHS. Okay, so sometimes SDPs might have to call for that information too, to prove that you've got all your audits in place where the workplace component is happening. And then any learnership pipelines, if you're strong on learnerships, go and have a look what's available. And please can I caution, go and have a look, and I don't mind guiding people at all. QCTO's website is pretty easy to navigate. The search function works pretty well. You can export the list. You can filter it and all that sort of thing. But watch for learnerships. They have a certificate. They are registered and then they have a certificate. So go and look if they've got a certificate to say this is a learnership and it's given a number. Okay, so that's, but then you're going to take it further with what else they can do, Mark, I think just now. So, but from a QCTO readiness point of view, this is what you can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I just want to quickly stop sharing there. Before I get into the next phase of the conversation, we've got a poll, Steph. Have we got a poll? I'm sure we've got a poll. I'd like to ask the audience, let's see what you would do with Santa's coming. He's going to deliver R1 million into your training budget. What would you do with it? Is that poll live yet? Ah, there it's popping up. Have a look. If you had R1 million to invest in people development right now and before the end of your financial year, what would deliver the best value for your organization? The options are accredited programs, non-accredited business-aligned programs, a blend of both, or I'm not sure. That's why I'm here. Let us hear your answer, please. Click on the click on your suggestion or your current situation or your desired impact, and let us know how you would use R1 million that came your way to bless the business. Where would that be? Is it accredited programs, non-accredited, a blend of both, or are you unsure at this particular point? Let's see, how are we shaping so far? A blend of both. Okay, blend of both. Clear winner. Almost 2/3 of all responses. We'll wait maybe for a few more, but I don't think it's going to change much. A blend of both. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to close the poll with that final response. 63% of people saying a blend of both. The next highest there being accredited programs at 17%, and the balance of non-accredited or uncertainty around where to spend it sitting at 10% apiece. Thank you very much for that, Stephanie. My next part of the presentation is I'm going to go into a little calculator. I'm going to do a little exercise just to show you how we could divide up money that comes in and where the priorities might go. So quickly share my screen and pull it up and just let me know once you see it. Should be an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's there.
It's all there. Thank you very much, Lisa. So just another disclaimer, this is an internal, we call it a BE skills spend calculator. We know the value that the skills development element has for organizations. It's a priority element, means you have to score at least 40%. So we use this from time to time to help guide some of our clients on how they can best make use of their spend and where to apply it. But I think the fact that there's a blend of both means that you're thinking about that. You're thinking about how does this impact the scorecard, but also how can I get the best value for my organization based on what the requirements are. So just to talk you very slowly through this, because it's probably quite new and there's a lot of information here. Don't be too distracted. It's sort of self-populating. The regional selection has got to do with your EAP targets, and we're just going to make it easy and go with the national EAP targets. And then in this scenario, we're going to go with a company that's got a payroll of, let's say, 100 million. Let's put that in. That'll populate exactly the spend. And then total staff count. Let's go with 1,000. Okay, so you should be able to see that. Let me quickly, maybe I must make the screen a little slightly bigger. Is that big enough? Can everyone see? I think it should be fine. Anyway, so if we had a client here with a national EAP targets, they've got 100 million rand payroll, and they've got 1,000 staff, this calculator shows us straight away. I'm going to put it on that block. There we go. 3.5 million. That's your skills spend target for category A to E. So in other words, accredited training. Then you'll also see here on the right-hand side in column D, the category F and G threshold. So that's capped at 25%. So that's 875,000. So bear in mind that I'm using a generic scorecard or basing it off a generic scorecard skills element. I am aware that within certain sectors, scoring might be slightly different when it comes to targets. So just give us a little bit of grace there. If we put in all those targets, we can see straight away 3.5 million must go to accredited training, 2.5 to bursary, and 875,000 to category F and G. So I think when you get the spare million or you get a million bonus, the first thing you want to go and do is, have I achieved my scorecard compliance? Most people have got that as a KPI if you're sitting in learning and development. It's one of those elements you've got to look out for. And in this instance, the easiest way to get to that 3.5 million, if I'm still short, is learnerships. So I'm going to scroll down to learnerships because learnerships are based on headcount. And here you can see in this particular example, the target should be 50 on a total staff complement of 1,000. So if you don't have the 50 and you're short, this is one area that you could make up your spend to get to your target. And the best way to do that is obviously through employed learnerships, because we know we can count the salary for the duration of that learnership. The challenge here is you've got to also achieve demographic targets, especially if you're a generic enterprise. You've got to then adhere to these EAP targets, and you may or may not have that demographic available to you on your staff complement. So that's the one caveat in going with the learnership. We want to top up to get to our scorecard. It is the quickest, easiest way, but do we have the right demographic in our organization to go and apply for those learnerships? So that's the one consideration. The second one being, what about category F and G? Yeah, we can see that's very quickly capped, 875,000. So for most organizations, you'll reach that target quite quickly. And if you want to go and spend it on non-accredited training, that maybe is business aligned or soft skills or human-centered skills that aren't accredited, you probably won't be able to count that. So yes, you might benefit the business, but you're not necessarily going to benefit the scorecard in this element. But a little bit later, I'm going to share with you where else the scorecard could benefit if you've maxed out your targets on the skills development element. And then the final area we're going to look at is that spend target, 3.5 million. Let's say I don't want to go FNG, I don't want to go learnerships. That means I've got to go accredited short courses, for example. And in this case, we've just seen that there are limited opportunities with accredited short courses when it comes to QCTO. In your CETA, there might be more available, but you can also see the challenges of running accredited short courses and the burden that it places on the learner and the workplace. So is that therefore the best return on investment? So these are the things, if I was in L&D and I got a spare million, I want to go and have a look at, okay, how can I benefit the scorecard, but how can I also benefit the business? And it looks like most of you are in agreement when I saw the outcome of that poll, almost 2/3 of you saying you would want to do a blend. So this is a good guide in terms of how to do that blend. And if you're still unsure of where to do the spend, then I'm going to quickly pull up another screen here. A lot of you will be familiar with it, but if you're not, go to our website. Under our unique solutions tab, there's a training needs analysis tool. It's completely free. You'll see there's a number of categories listed here. And in that, you can go select a category, share it with employees, and then make sure, if you think that that's what they need, but let's go make sure. Let's go and test the skills gap. You'll get a report, and from there, you can decide where's the best place to spend your money. So back to the, I'm going to just stop sharing. Let me go back to the calculator. Just to reiterate finally, if that was your scenario, you would look at 3 categories. The first one being the category A to E, skills development spend, the actual spend. Your learnership headcount, have you achieved that? If not, if you want to top it up, do you have the right demographic? Remember that if you exceed the demographic, it won't count on your scorecard. So you've got to get the balance, and that can be quite tricky. Category F and G, if there's still money left, you can spend, but mostly we know that we're going to exceed it. So you're not going to show any scorecard benefit, although there might be benefit to the business. And then finally, let's go top it up with category E, or skills programs. We can still do that with legacy. We know that with legacy, we've got at least, especially on human-centered stuff, we've got about 30 to 40 courses that we can still go and register up until 30 June. But with QCTO, it's limited, and it can be quite cumbersome at the minute. So those are the things that that I would look out for. If I got the million and I needed to go and spend it, where do we get the best return for our investment? With that, I'm going to quickly pull up the slideshow again, because I have been speaking quite a bit to, just have a look at it, to what we call human-centered skills. These are also now, or they were referred to often as soft skills, but I see the trend these days is now to call them human-centered skills. And why am I pulling this up? Why do I keep going back to human-centered skills? And I'm going to go back to this. I want to quickly pull up this particular slide. And this is to do with the 2025 Workplace Learning Report. And I think most of you are familiar with it. But generally what you get out of that report is, what are the fastest growing skills and where are the biggest skills gaps. And in the 2025 learning report, coming back from what CEOs are looking for in their business in terms of fastest growing skills, you can see there's a mix of technical and human and or soft skills. So things like conflict mitigation, adaptability, EQ, resilience, critical thinking, problem solving, communication. These are all essential skills. This is not me saying to you, hey, listen, we're trying to sell Kwelanga's products here. These are skills that businesses find valuable. These are skills that they're saying are the fastest growing in their organization and are absolutely critical for the development of their people and for the impact that they're trying to make in the business. So I keep coming back to this because there's very limited opportunity at the moment for QCTO, but we've got legacy unit standards and we can still register them until 30 June. And this is a good opportunity, if that is your target of accredited training, that's what you can go and pursue. So how do we bolster our scorecard with legacy learnerships and unit standards? Just to give you an example here, speaking specifically to Kwelanga, we offer the learnerships that speak mostly to the areas that we're involved in, like management, leadership, emotional intelligence, communication, conflict, business administration, etc. So we've still got these 3 learnerships, BA4, GM4, and GM5. You can still register with them now. If you've got a financial year end coming up now, you can get them in before the end of financial year end, or you can get them in the new financial period before the 30th of June, and then you can still count them on your scorecard. The Category E accredited courses, while they are still available, maximize them. If you've extended or you've exceeded your F&G category, you can still do the Category E ones. And I think the current short courses, and Lisa, I don't know that you've got the stats, but I know that certainly you've mentioned to me that we've seen a massive spike from our clients in getting these Category E courses through their organizations. And my sense is that people are trying to hit a balance between scorecard and also giving some value into the business. And
definitely,
then
Mark. Yeah, sorry, I just want to say definitely, I don't have the stats, but definitely, and Joanna will probably nod in agreement. We've been inundated with requests and they're coming in fast and furiously because people are realizing, capitalize now. Excellent.
And then finally, what I wanted to say to you that your spend, even if your category F and G is completely exhausted, so you've achieved your target, but you do still want to do non-accredited training, that value is not lost on the scorecard. Remember that preferential procurement is also a priority element. So my suggestion is go and partner with your co-worker who's sitting in procurement and help them, because they've also got targets to achieve. And what we've seen there is that, particularly in generic, but you'll find it in most of the other scorecards as well, these 4 key areas that are listed here: total spend, QSE or EME spend, more than 51% Black-owned business, and more than 30% Black female-owned business, are individual or sub-targets of your total spend. So if you're dealing with a provider, let's say, for example, like Kwelanga, that's a level 2, whatever you spend with us gets recognized at 125%. So that helps that person in procurement get to their target quite quickly. They've got to spend at least 80% of their total procurement spend with businesses that are BE compliant. Secondly, they've also got an EME and QSE spend. So they've got to achieve that as well. Thirdly, they've got to spend with organizations that are more than 51% Black-owned. And finally, they've also got to spend with organizations that are more than 30% Black female-owned. Now, the beautiful thing here about Kwelanga is that here you can say to them, hey, we've got a provider that can, with one spend, count to all 4 of those categories. So if you're going to go and take your R1 million, I'm going to go spend R1 million, suddenly I can count 1,250,000. So not just R1 million, I can count 1,250, extra 250,000. It's going to get me to my target quickly. And I can also go and achieve the targets, the subcategory targets of QSE, because they're a QSE, because they're more than 51% Black-owned, and because they're more than 30% Black female-owned. One spend addresses all 4 of those targets. promise you're going to make a very good friend in the procurement department if you can help them out there. And I think for all of us in L&D, we live a very close relationship with procurement, because a lot of the times you've got to get purchase orders raised, you've got to get your providers loaded up on the system, and they've got to go through a vending process. So all of those things are very important. Right, so that hopefully gives you some insights in how we can allocate training, where we are with the QCTO transition. I see we're coming very close to the end of our presentation, so we might not get to the Q&A. I'm just going to stop sharing here quickly. But if you've got questions, what I can please encourage you to do, type them up in the chat, because if we can't address them now when we send out the webinar presentation, we will do our very best to address those questions. So please type them up in the chat. In closing, Lisa, I'm going to come back to you, because we've got a beautiful slide at the end. I think you've summarized it. I just want to go make sure that I've got it here. Just the key takeaways from today's session. I think there are a couple of bullet points there that we can just quickly talk through, but please be aware that we will share this presentation with you at the end. So the information that we're sharing here, you will receive as well. And of course, if you've got any questions, please let us know. Let me quickly pop up that final slide through the key takeaways for our clients. And we're going to go, there we go. Right, Lisa, if I can hand over to you, if you're happy to do this, or would you prefer me to do it?
No, I'm quite comfortable. Thank you, Mark. So yes, we've stressed that enrollment for legacy programs now up until last booking forms, probably towards the end of May, to enroll through the June. Go and have a look at your sector plan. Mark spoke about reports that you can draw on, and go and look at your CETA sector plan and see what those scarce skills are. Remember that they're limited soft skills straight after, the cutoff. So from 1st of July. Maximize your accredited spend. Mark's taken you through the B-BBEE scorecard and how you can do that. Align training to the business priorities, always important. I'm sure many of you are very critically aware of that. And dual value training, because it can't just be a ticked box exercise. There has to be business impact. Plan for now, next, and future, always. We've said we're watching and waiting. We all are looking forward, and then we look for the guidance, and we've got to be proactive in everything we do. And optimize the legacy spend while transitioning, because if you have got that financial year end that's looming shortly, but you can still be in time for the April, May, June, you could do 2 FYEs in one period. So just, they say make hay while the sun shines. Yes, the sun's still shining on legacies. So let's make hay. Okay, Mark, I think the next slide was also important. I know we might be pushing it. That other one with the... Is that, but they'll get it, so that's
yes,
fine. Yes.
Yeah. So there are some areas there that we're going to duplicate. So that's why I haven't gone to that slide, Lisa. I'm just aware of time. You will receive it. Lisa's put it into a beautiful table for us, so it simplifies the information. And this one is important as well. If you've got your phone with you, please scan the QR code on the screen and take the quick survey. It helps us to understand whether we are sharing the right kind of information, what other challenges you might want us to address. Remember, this is a fireside series, 1 of 4. There are going to be 3 others in the new year, February, I think it was March, April, and then again in May. So, and with each one, we will be updating and trying to hone in on those areas that we receive the most queries on. So that's it. And then just before I close, we've got one final webinar at the end of the year that's going to run on the first week of December. I think it's Wednesday, the 3rd of December. It's around AI and AI as your thinking partner. Highly recommended. It's not a course on ChatGPT or any of the tools, but it's really, if we're talking about human-centered skills, how can I leverage AI to be my thinking partner? And it's a great workshop conducted by Michael, and he'll be looking to share some of his insights. So look out for that as well. Then, Steph, I'm not sure what the time looks like. It looks like we've just about coming up to the end of time. Not sure if there's any questions in the chat. that we can quickly address? Has anything popped up there? While I leave the QR code up for you to scan.
Nothing's come up. I think we've overwhelmed him with information. Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I hope we haven't. Maybe. I hope it has. I love that. Thank you. It's they're commenting on very informative session. Great session. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? We appreciate it, because obviously we, you know, we're only giving our perspective. We're not sure if it's relevant. So as much feedback as you can give us, positive or negative, we take it all in our stride, because we want to make sure that we give you the best value for the hour that you give up to spend with us. That's it, Steph. So no further questions. Look out for the presentation when it gets sent through, and of course for continued webinar series. Most of you are dealing with a business development person or a business relationship consultant. If you've got any questions or you want to get going on any of the legacy programs before they expire, please engage with them and they'll be happy to assist you. Or myself and Lisa are open for queries as well. Lisa, thank you very much for your time. Johanna, you were very quiet today. I'm going to have to, I know that you like hiding behind the screen there. Maybe next week I'll, next year when we run series 2. Next Fireside, we're going to have
to be active.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Stephanie. Yes. That wasn't my table, it was your table. So thank you for all the work that you grind away in the background. The presentations come off Stephanie's desk, and she's a remarkable value, just valuable contribution that you make.
Awesome. Daniel, did I see that Daniel had his hand up there? Are we able to unmute him? Yeah, I think I might have just. Okay. Oh, you're just giving us a high five. No good. No problem.
Well done, guys.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a super Wednesday. All the best. Bye-bye now.
Bye.